On February 28, 2026, the Middle East entered a high-intensity regional war. Iran launched a massive retaliatory strike against neighboring Gulf states, filling the airspace with over 2,000 drones and 500 ballistic missiles. For decades, the standard strategic assumption was that the United Arab Emirates would rely on the Arab League and the Gulf Cooperation Council for collective defense against this scale of regional threat. Instead, Abu Dhabi bypassed its traditional Arab allies. As the attacks escalated, the UAE forged a specialized emergency defense pact with Israel. The centerpiece of this agreement was the secret deployment of Israeli directed energy weapons, along with the military personnel required to operate them on Emirati soil. Securing their airspace with Israeli laser technology provided the UAE with a specific strategic advantage. It provided the defensive cover required to execute a historic exit from OPEC. By solving a tactical military problem with a new weapon, the UAE cleared the path to pursue an independent economic strategy that would have been too risky to attempt otherwise. The core problem the UAE faced in early 2026 was not a lack of defensive technology, but an economic crisis in air defense. Iranian offensive platforms, particularly Shahed drones, are incredibly cheap to manufacture. A single unit costs between $20,000 and $50,000 to produce. This chart illustrates the economic disparity. On the left, a $50,000 drone. On the right, a towering bar representing Kinetic Interceptors, $12 million for a Patriot or $15 million for THAAD. Multiply that by 2,000 drones, and the financial burden rockets off the chart. Relying heavily on Patriot systems to intercept these cheap drones led to a rapid depletion of multi-million-dollar stockpiles in the opening days of the conflict. Inventories of highly advanced THAAD interceptors quickly faced the same critical shortages as the barrage continued. Military strategists define this specific trap as the cost exchange dilemma. The attacker's goal is to financially ruin the defender long before a single piece of infrastructure is physically destroyed. For the UAE to survive the war, simply shooting down the drones was insufficient. They had to completely invert the mathematical equation of their air defense. To break this financial dilemma, Israel intervened by rushing its newly developed Iron Beam system to the Emirates. The Iron Beam uses a 100-kilowatt fiber laser. Instead of destroying targets through kinetic impact, it focuses intense energy, neutralizing threats through extreme thermal heating. This requires what is known as dwell time. The laser must stay continuously locked onto a fast-moving target for several seconds to transfer enough heat to detonate the payload or melt the chassis. Returning to our chart, this technology inverts the math. The $15 million defense bar drops to a sliver. Iron Beam's operating cost is roughly $3 per shot. Running entirely on electricity, it possesses an infinite magazine capacity, limited only by the local power grid. To guide the laser, Israel deployed a complementary surveillance platform called Spectro, a lightweight system capable of detecting the thermal signatures of incoming drones from up to 20 kilometers away. Operating on the ground in the Gulf, Israeli troops integrated Spectro directly with the Iron Beam, creating an automated sensor-to-shooter loop. This effectively shifted the UAE's national defense strategy. It replaced a finite, bankrupting logistical nightmare with a highly scalable, low-cost electrical solution. Despite these economic advantages, directed energy technology was rushed into the theater during its prototype phase, and it carries strict operational limitations. This diagram outlines a physical limitation: atmospheric absorption. Common Gulf weather, like severe dust storms or heavy rain, actively scatters the laser beam, significantly reducing its lethality. Furthermore, a single battery is highly vulnerable to being overwhelmed by a high-volume drone swarm. The Israel Defense Forces noted that a reliable, wide-reaching defensive net requires roughly 14 active batteries, a volume of hardware that simply did not exist in early 2026. To close these specific vulnerabilities in their defense network, the UAE made a tactical pivot to Ukraine. The Emirates signed 10-year security pacts to acquire direct, combat-tested advisory support from Ukrainian drone defense experts. A key tactic exported to the Gulf was the rapid repurposing of aging, legacy kinetic weapons to supplement the coverage gaps in the experimental laser network. Specifically, the UAE began modifying thousands of older air-to-air AIM-9 Sidewinder missiles, converting them so they could be fired from ground installations. Building a functional shield in real time required a hybrid approach. The UAE combined bleeding-edge Israeli directed energy with modified legacy kinetic missiles guided by Ukrainian battlefield experience. This bespoke, multi-layered defensive umbrella achieved its primary objective. It successfully shielded the UAE's $150 billion energy infrastructure from Iranian destruction. With their vital infrastructure secure, the UAE abandoned their long-standing posture of Gulf hedging, dropping their reliance on the Gulf Cooperation Council for collective defense. On May 1, 2026, operating from a position of insulated military strength, the UAE officially withdrew from OPEC. This area chart tracks the economic motivation. Unconstrained by cartel quotas, the UAE immediately surged output, pumping a massive 5 million barrels of oil per day. Flooding the global market with this increased volume of crude systematically suppresses the price of oil. Lowering the price of oil acts as a direct counteroffensive against Iran. It starves Tehran of the rentier revenues required to fund its military machine. The UAE leveraged Israeli military technology to buy the operational confidence needed to wage unilateral economic warfare. The 2026 war resulted in a hard power consolidation of Middle Eastern alliances, moving them away from historical blocs. The Abraham Accords transitioned from a diplomatic handshake into a hard power bilateral security axis. This snap illustrates the primary economic expression of this new axis, the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, or the IMEC route. Looking at the geography, this overland route completely bypasses the Strait of Hormuz, neutralizing Iran's primary maritime choke point. The era of Arab energy unity has shifted, replaced by a pragmatic UAE-first policy engineered to maximize hydrocarbon revenues while physically bypassing regional threats. By solving the cost exchange dilemma of drone warfare, a $3 laser provided the security architecture that allowed for a massive shift in how global energy is traded and protected. Thank you for watching. If you found this breakdown valuable, please like, share, and subscribe to the Global WarWatch Network. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and check the description for our social media links.